Díogribh, tá céad míle fáilte romhaibh chuig an seamannas brunta céimeanna ar leis seo. Greetings from the Public Theatre or Exam Hall of the College of the Holy and Undivided Trinity of Queen Elizabeth near Dublin. I'm Brendan Tagney, and as Registrar, I welcome you, the graduates, and your friends and family to this graduation ceremony. We are now in our second year of holding ceremonies in this digital modality, and we've all gotten used to doing many things in this way. Some work well in this medium, but others less so. The online event does fulfill the formal aspect of the ceremony, but will only go some way towards replicating the vibe of being on campus with friends, classmates, and family. Commencement ceremonies are actually meetings of the University Senate and are presided over by the caput, or head, led today by the Pro-chancellor of the University, Dr. Jane Grimson, who is joined in the caput by the Pro-provost of the College, Professor Jürgen Barkhoff, and by the Senior Master Non-Regent, Professor Kevin Devine. The Senior Proctor, who will present graduates to the Senate, is Professor Werner Blau. Myself and the mace bearer, Mr. Joe Mockler, are in the Public Theatre, while the rest of the participants join remotely. I will say a little more about the formal ceremony shortly, but first, the Pro-Chancellor has a few remarks to make.
It is a great pleasure to welcome you all to this graduation, or commencements as we call it, ceremony of the University of Dublin this morning. And a particularly warm welcome to all of you who are about to be conferred with your degree. This is a wonderful and happy occasion in which we celebrate your achievements. I'm only sorry that because of the pandemic, it's not taking place in the real world, especially as today is such a warm, sunny day in Dublin. I always enjoy chatting to the new graduates and their families and friends in Front Square after the ceremony, and I'll miss that interaction, hearing about your time in college and your plans for the future. On the positive side, if it was a normal ceremony, each graduand would only be able to invite 2 guests due to the space limitations in the Public Theatre. But in the virtual world, you can invite as many people as you like from anywhere in the world. So I hope you'll take the opportunity to celebrate your achievements with family and friends, whom I'm sure have played an important role in supporting you in your studies. I mentioned at the start that we call this ceremony a commencement ceremony to mark the fact that it represents a new stage, a new beginning in your lives. So I'd like to end by wishing all of you about to be new graduates every success in the future, and look forward to being able to welcome you back to Trinity sometime in the future.
There are a few points to make before we begin the formal ceremony. One might ask, what is the purpose of the ceremony? And my answer is that it is an opportunity to publicly and formally celebrate some event or achievement. A criticism of our modern connected world is that we are always on and go from one activity to another without a break, or worse still, we multiplex and try and do several things simultaneously. I would encourage you to take this ceremony as an opportunity to pause and reflect and acknowledge the significance of what you have achieved in obtaining your degree and the extent to which it marks the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. In marking the occurrence of significant events, ceremonies encourage us to take the long-term view. You are not to be first to be graduated from this theatre, which is over 300 years old, and you are not the last. This is not to diminish the occasion, but rather to position today and your achievement in that long arc of tradition and mark your formal entry into the Trinity alumni community, which transcends space and time. This is not Trinity's first pandemic. There's a bench in New Square where you may wish to sit when you're next on campus, dedicated to the memory of R.M. MacDowell, who studied and taught history here. He told me the story of how he caught Spanish flu in 1919 and thankfully lived to tell the tale. So today, you will secure your place in the history of college as the COVID graduates, and you can tell that story to your children and grandchildren. As previously stated, the formal ceremony to follow is a meeting of the Senate of the University of Dublin, at which you, the graduates, will have your degrees conferred upon you. As an aside, a practical manifestation of the subtle and sometimes confusing distinction between the university and the college is that when writing letters after your name, it should read, for example, BA brackets Dub and not BA brackets TCD. Following a tradition which stretches back to the origins of the university, our commencement ceremonies are conducted entirely in Latin. The Latin ceremony recognizes the university's historic past, reflecting a heritage shared with the oldest universities of Europe. Latin was the language of learning and debate all across Europe when these first universities were the seedbed of scholarship and enlightenment. Within the universities at the time, Latin was the language of study, the language of philosophy and the sciences, of law, and of all the professions. And that shared language, long before the World Wide Web, allowed the exchange of ideas between scholars and universities, transcending the boundaries of empire and religion in old Europe. As far as this ceremony is concerned, it is by continuing to use Latin that we acknowledge our heritage, the intellectual foundations of the modern Western world, and the debt we owe to scholars and to scholarship of former times. The ceremony will be opened by the Pro-chancellor with the Salvete, which is a general welcome to us all. This will be followed by the registrar reading the university's Senate minutes, which relate to the last degree awarding meeting of the Senate, i.e. the last commencement ceremony which took place before this one. The senior proctor will ask the caput to approve the awarding of the degrees. The mace bearer then calls for a vote by members of the Senate, and the Pro-chancellor asks for agreement of those present, which is given by the response, plaquette, it is agreed. The senior proctor will then present each degree and call out the names of the candidates, commending them to the Pro-chancellor for admittance to the degree. The Pro-chancellor then admits the named candidates. The Pro-chancellor will close the ceremony, bidding us all farewell with the words of the Valete, goodbye. I now hand us over to the Pro-chancellor to begin the formal ceremony.
Salvete senatores omnes, domini doctores, domini magistri, salvete candidati signores, salvete hospites undique hic magnanissime congregati, comitia fiant in nomine Dei, Amen.
Comitia aestiva, termino sanctissime Trinitatis, altra matutina, habita Dei, 22 Juli, Anno Domini millesimo secondo 21. Caput Senatus, Pro Cancellaria, Joanna Barclay Grimson, Magister in Artibus. Pro Prepositus, Jürgen Barkhoff, Magister in Artibus. Senior Magister non Regens, Comgenis Martinus Divine, Doctor in Philosophia. Procurator Senior, Furnus Josephus Blau, Doctor in Scientis. Registrarius, Dionysius Brendanus Tangney, Magister in Scientis. Gradus Juniores, Solemni modo collati sunt. Examinatona habita in album senatus referenda. Registrarius curabit.
Re honorabilis pro cancellaria, totaque universitas. Supplicant reverentis vestris ei, qui in is cardis quae in manibus nostris sunt nominantur, ut his comitiis ad gradum supernomina designatum admittantur. Ego fide mea testo ac spondeo toti academiae, unum quemque candidatorum is cardis nominatum, omnia exercitia gradum, ad quem unus quisque aspirat, pertinentia pro legibus academicis rite complevisse.
Ad scrutinium.
Placetne vovis domini doctores,
Placet.
placetne vovis domini magistri,
Placet.
placet omnibus.
In absentia. Magistri in opera sociali. Chadwick Gerard Joseph. Donahue Cayley. Gigante Elizabeth. Grabiec Justina, Woldiak Mikhail Pavel, Magister in Scientii Studia, Abraham Noble, Salah Marwa Mahdu Hassan, Magistri in Artibus Iuri Officii, Ahern Deirdre, Brooke Clodagh, Shadifo Thomas, Clark Blonnet, De Brunner Sorka, Doherty Lena, Fitzgerald Briefney, Fu Na, Murray John Damien, Pierce Kenneth, Seritakis Alexandros, Shantz Amanda, Sloat Samuel, Magistri in Artibus, Bo Frida, Brown Victoria, Dyer James William Andrew, Feischny Carl Patrick, Gaynor Rose, Holmes Aoife, Keaveney Callum John, Lennon Peter Collum, Lodge Christopher James, Millington Buck Edward John, Morrissey Brian, Murphy Joanne Philippa, Murphy Thomas, Ni Julawan Una, O'Reilly Emma, Payne Ian Christopher, Peard Mark Andrew, Ryan Stephen Henry, Sullivan Emily Wadsworth, Doctor in Executione Musica, Edge Kenneth, Doctores in Chirurgia Dentaria Negociales, Akre Shkre Abdallah Ali, Murthy Advan, Doctores in Filosofia, Al-Bayyari Muhammad Hassan, Barbara Gillian Louise, Battle Irene, Blot Michaela, Callahan Susan, Chakraborty Anirban, Jen Lee Kung, Cod Yvonne, Coerzier Mains GS, Dearth Maureen. Diaz Paino Pedro Jose. Dolly Jessica. Dur Eva Maria. Gabriel Sarah. Islam Muhammad Nurul. Kennedy Brian. Lacey Eric Anthony. La Spada Eleonora Miriam. Leon Gemma. Likotseva Evgenia. Lopez Milena Ribeiro. McGovern Matthew. Moore Vanessa. Mulhare Ronan Joseph. O'Sullivan Ashlyn. Reverdy Justine Stefan Jane. Reese Walter Robrecht. Skito Marco. Strahan Orla. Tamarov Pedro Nicolas. Taylor Neal. Doctor in Sciences. O'Donnell James Stewart. Doctor in Medicina. Maloney David. Prehonorabilis pro cancellaria totaque universitas. Commendo vobis filios meos de gentes peregre, quorum nomina recitata sunt supplicationesque placuerunt, quos scio tam moribus quam doctrina habiles et idonios esse, ut ad gradus quos petunt admittantur.
Ego autoritatis mihi concessa, admitto candidates de gentes peregre, quorum nomina recitate supplicationesque placuerunt, proat quisque meruit, ad incipiendum in opera sociali, in scientiis studia, in artibus iure officii, in artibus, in executia musica, in chirurgia dentaria negotialis, in philosophia, in scientiis, et in medicina. Valete senatorius, non diutius vos morabimur, valete candidati nois honoribus decorati, valete et vos, hospites acaptissimi, comitia sanvantor in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.